Hi, welcome back. In the first of two videos on cornering, we're going to be looking this time at tyres and how much your grip really matters when you're cornering, particularly on faster roads. So tyres have a certain amount of grip. So imagine just placing a tyre on the road and pushing it down with a little bit of weight and trying to move it from side to side in any direction. It doesn't really matter which way you try to move it, there's a certain amount of resistance or friction making it difficult to move. Push hard enough though and you can overcome the friction. Now imagine the same tyre on your car. When you brake, the tyres are trying to stop the car. If you brake nice and smoothly, everything will be fine. But if you demand too much, it won't work. Brake too hard and you'll just skid, and the car skids. That means that you've lost control, you've asked for more grip than is actually available. Now imagine that for a dry road there's a certain maximum amount of grip. Let's call it just 100%. The maximum you can possibly use of this is about 99%, because as soon as you hit 100%, the car's going to skid. Now in normal braking, you might only use, I don't know, up to 50%, 60% at most. In an emergency stop though, you might be going up to 90%, because what you're trying to do is get the car to stop as quickly as possible, but without the risk of losing control and skidding if you hit 100. So braking is one example, but it's exactly the same when you're pulling away. Pull away gently and it'll be absolutely fine, but again, ask too much and the car's just going to wheel spin. It's going to go nowhere because you're asking for more grip than is actually available. Obviously, if the road surface is loose, icy or wet, you're going to reach the limit so much sooner. In the rain, you might only have 50% of the normal grip. If it's icy, that could be down to just 10%. Now think about the car going around the corner. It's the same thing again. There's a speed that feels fairly comfortable. Start going above that and the car's going to start to struggle to go around the corner because you're starting to run out of grip. If you go around a bend fast enough, there's a point where the car's going to skid. You've reached 100% and you're asking for more grip than tyres are able to provide. Now remember we talked earlier about trying to slide the tyre in any direction? The really important part to understand here is that it's the same grip you're using for either changing speed or direction. The more grip you use for cornering, the less you've got left for braking. The more grip you're already using for braking or slowing down, the less grip you've got left over for steering. Now let's say you're going around a bend on a country lane, reasonably fast, you might be using 80% or so of your grip. Let's say perhaps you get halfway round and there's a broken down van, there's a tractor halfway out of a field, or there's some pedestrians in the road walking towards you. How quickly can you stop? Well, if you're already using about 80% of your grip to go around the corner, you've only got about 19% left. Remember, we said that if you hit 100%, the tyre skids and you lose control. If you lock up your wheels halfway around the corner, you're just going to slide in whatever direction you were going diagonally at the time. You could go straight into a tree if it's a right-hand bend, or possibly on a left-hand bend you could go straight into the path of oncoming traffic. Now if you're already using 80% of the grip for cornering and the most you can go to without skidding is 99%, that 19% you can use for braking isn't going to be much of an emergency stop. You might use up to 60% for normal braking, 90% or so for an emergency stop normally. 19% isn't really going to slow you down very much. So the biggest bit to remember here is that whatever grip you're already using for cornering, this reduces how much spare grip you've got left for braking. Okay, so do you remember the golden rule of safe driving? You've always got to be able to drive at a speed that allows you to stop within the distance you can see to be clear. Now think about it, you've always got to be going slow enough that you can stop within the distance you can see is clear. Now as you come up to a bend, a lot of the time you'll have a limited view of the road ahead. Not only have you got to be able to stop within the distance you can see, but you've also got to consider it will take you longer to stop if you're already using up some of your grip for cornering. If you're cornering and you've already used up some of the available grip, your ability to stop is already reduced. So the distance it will take you to stop will be greater than normal. Coming up to a bend, not only might there be a limited view of the road ahead, your speed going into a bend also needs to allow for the fact that you can't react and stop as quickly as you would have done in a straight line. Work out what you need to do to avoid having to do an emergency stop on a bend. Now even in normal driving, the best way to avoid issues on bends and junctions is to avoid cornering and changing speed at the same time. Just use your tyres for one thing at a time. Now when we first learned to drive and we was turning left and right, we were told to use the gas pedal to gently push the car around the corner. Now this was because the extra friction of having the wheels turned to such an angle naturally made the car slow down. We had to push the car around the corner to overcome the extra friction. Now we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're doing it for a different reason. Now that we're driving faster, the friction is less of an issue, but the amount of grip available is much more of a consideration. We need to aim to use the tyres for one thing at a time, either speeding up or slowing down, or cornering, but not both together. Our plan, as it was in those first few lessons, is to push the car around the corner at a gentle, constant speed, so we have the most amount of grip available for cornering. The only way we can do this is if we finish our braking and then drive the car around the corner. So 1, brake early enough that you still have time to do a gear change if necessary. 2, make sure you're in the correct gear for the speed you're now going. And 3, push the car around the corner at a constant speed with your foot lightly on the gas, just maintaining your speed until you've straightened up. If you're not sure about how to fit it all in on the approach, have a look in the links below. We've got a number of videos that cover off how to get everything set up so that as you come up to the corner, everything is nice and planned and controlled. In a second video on handling and cornering, we're going to be talking about how to balance the weight of the car and how this is another really important factor to help you get around the corner safely. If you don't understand how the car has to be balanced on cornering, again, you could lose control when you start driving faster. This is another skill that racing drivers have to get right for them to stay on the track, and it's exactly the same thing that helps you stay safe when you're on the road. So thanks for watching. Remember to comment, like and subscribe on the videos, and you'll get to hear about new ones as they get launched. Until next time, drive safe and have fun.